Salutations, Scribblers. Thank you so much for tuning in to another writing tips video. Today, we are chatting about character archetypes and how to push past the reader's expectations. So I will admit it, I am a character girly, 100%. I will read any book regardless of its lack of writing quality or how many plot holes it has if I find the characters compelling. Same for TV shows and movies. If I fall in love with a character, I'm willing to forgive whatever writing or other weirdness I encounter as I watch. So I think a lot of other readers are like this, right? And we all have archetypes that we fall in love with. I love assassin characters. I love any character affiliated with organized crime. Watching Peaky Blinders was amazing for me. I loved absolutely every single character with all of my heart. And I also have a huge soft spot for sharpshooters. As soon as I hear a character is a sharpshooter, I adopt them and will defend them until I die. So, like, those are just three archetypes that absolutely hit for me, right? And I love them at their cores. But what I love more is when an author or a creator takes those archetypes and really brings something unexpected to the table. This takes a level of skill on the part of the author, and anyone can write an assassin character, right? All they have to do is accept some type of payment in exchange for killing somebody. Done. Assassin character. But that's also really boring, right? It's much more fun when they give that assassin some meaningful baggage or life and traits that push the boundaries of that archetype. So as writers, we want to take that mundane and make it unforgettable and enticing to our readers. That doesn't mean that archetypes are not great places to start our characters at, right? We have to start somewhere. We have to build them up. But in order to engage our audience, we really need to push beyond that basic blueprint. So if you rely solely on archetypes, you're leaving opportunities on the table and you're doing yourself and your readers a disservice. So pushing beyond those archetypes is a way to really hook your readers, right? A great example of this is the Netflix show, The Brother's Son. So one of the main characters is a high-ranking member of an organized crime ring with a dash of assassin. Wow, dash of assassin. That is a tongue twister, guys, thrown in. But he also loves to bake, and throughout the entire series, he's obsessed with finding the perfect churro recipe. So basically, the writers combined an assassin-esque crime archetype with a baker. And it's absolute genius. And as a viewer, I was delighted to see this contrast and how it all came together to create a character that I was rooting for the entire time. If you have not yet watched The Brother's Son on Netflix, I do highly recommend it. It is fantastic. When writers just stick to archetypes and don't push those boundaries, though, readers get to be disappointed. And of course, depending on the book you're writing and what its purpose is, archetypes can be the perfect thing. So for example, Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson is one of my favorite examples of using archetypes just as they are and how powerful they can be. So in Speak, one of the main points of the story is how what happens to Melinda could happen to anyone. So using archetypes for all the characters surrounding her was a really brilliant choice, and it really drove home that message of the book. Melinda herself is kind of very stereotypical in how she withdraws from her peers and how she views everyone as these basic types, describing her classmates according to the cliques they're in, and her teachers are Hair Woman, Mr. Neck, and then, her peace, love, dope, hippy-dippy art teacher who breaks through her fugue and really helps her to feel inspired. So there are absolutely times when you do want to lean into those archetypes, and that's what they're there for. But in most cases, you want to try and break free of those constraints. That's what's going to really help you get your characters, your book out there and into the reader's attention, right? You want them to say, oh, this is a little bit different. They've done something unique here. So you want to push those boundaries and see what you can bend or twist or subvert. I think a great example of this is actually V.E. Schwab's duology, The Savage Song. I couldn't think of the title for a second. So in that duology, right, August is a monster, but he's one of the gentlest characters in the book, and he just wants everything to be okay. Whereas the other point of view, Kate, is kind, but she's constantly chasing this ideal of becoming a monster, right? She wants to do these horrible, heinous things. So watching as their story unfolds and how they both rebel and refuse to fit into the archetype they should fit into is just an absolute masterclass in writing, as most of Schwab's work are. So like if you haven't read her yet, please do. Absolutely fantastic. From a reader's point of view, it makes the story just that much more engaging and interesting, right? We love seeing characters that push back against the boxes others try to put them in, which goes back to that human connection piece that I've talked about before, that we as authors are always chasing. Readers want to read about people like themselves. So no, we might not be monsters born of a dark deed or have parents who are mayors of a town with a monster problem, but we do all struggle to be the version of ourselves that break free from the constraints that others put on us. And that human connection piece is just a vital part of writing a good story. As we grow older, the more complex these stories become. When you look at books aimed at kids, that nuance usually isn't quite as subtle. It's very clearly defined who the good guy is, who the bad guy is, and the good guy is generally joined by that host of archetypical characters. It is worth noting that when I read middle grade stories as an adult, I feel like I am aware of that subtlety and nuance those authors put in, whereas a young reader might not see those connections, but they're there, and they're absolutely present, right? Middle grade authors are truly some of the most talented writers out there, because you do so much and you just craft it so well, because they just handle these really difficult things and take those complex characters and they're able to distill them into something that a younger mind without that complexity, hasn't developed yet, can handle and take in and like learn from. So kudos to every single one of you. When we move on to young adult and then into adult spaces, we start to see more nuance, right? We have more of that spread of how characters can lean into two different types of things. So, for example, the Greenbone Saga, which is my personal absolute favorite series of all times. It's perfect, no notes. I will not be taking any questions. Every character in that story fits into an archetype, but then Fonda Lee turns everything on its head and starts bringing in all these unexpected traits and thought processes that makes that boring old archetype just fresh and exciting for the reader. Like, what she does with those characters it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So if you do just take everyone and make them all cookie cutters in your story and they're never developed beyond those archetypes, you're going to lose your reader. You could have the coolest world building and the best, most twistiest plot, but it often won't be enough to really keep readers wanting to turn the page. Of course, again, there's always exceptions. Earlier, I mentioned Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson, and that is, that's an example of really leaning into those archetypes and how much it pays off. So in future videos, I'm going to kind of dive into those concepts a bit more, but for now, I just want you guys to start thinking about how you can push past those archetypes to hook readers and surprise readers with something that's so much more than they were expecting, right? If you're looking for some help with that, the Scribbler's Den does have a great character development unit that can help you move beyond the basics of your character. It covers voice, agency, wants, needs, and goals. You can check that out in the link in the description. It's only $13. You get lifetime access. It's a whole bunch of really great exercises for you to do. Highly recommend. That is it for today, Scribblers. Please have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Happy writing, Scribblers.